Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Tips and Tricks webinar brought to you by the Marks Group. Today, we're going to be talking about Dynamics 365 tips and tricks for enabling enhanced email. This is going to allow you to create new email messages in a nice little pop-up window in the bottom of your screen rather than the entirely new page that loads when you go to create a new email. So that's pretty handy. And I do think it's a lot nicer to use than the original, than that new page that it takes you to. So I'm going to show you how to enable that. We will also talk about enabling something called the inactivity timeout. I didn't realize this was actually here until I just stumbled upon it recently. That I think this has been in the settings for a long time. But yeah, we'll talk about that and why you might want to use it. So let's get started. And then finally, we're also going to talk about real quick about Microsoft Teams, finding notes from a previous meeting is going to be, that's a good tip in my opinion. I am often doing on-demand meetings or meet now meetings, whatever you want to call them. And sometimes finding the notes for those can be a little tricky. So after the fact, so we will walk through at least what I do. Maybe there's a more efficient way, but I'll show you what I do to find those in hindsight. So all right, let's get started. So I've got a bunch of sample data in here, but we don't need it so much for this. Okay, so let's do the enhanced email first. So this is easiest done in the Sales Hub. If you do not work, if you're not working in the Sales Hub, if you have like a custom app, which most of our clients do, I'll show you how to change the settings for that in a custom app. So it's a little different at the moment. Hopefully they'll change this, but at the moment, at least, to enable enhanced email on a custom app, you can click this gear icon in the upper right corner, then click Advanced Settings and wait for it to load. If it takes longer than, say, 60 seconds, you can exit out and try again. Sometimes that kicks it into gear. Okay, not too bad today. Okay, so we're going to click this drop-down arrow next to Settings, then we'll go to Administration, and then we'll go to System Settings. So we're going to click on the Email tab here and scroll down a little bit, and you'll see an option for Enhanced Email for Timeline. This is what we're talking about. So make sure this is enabled. So this allows the email functionality to work a lot like Gmail. When you start a new draft in Gmail, it's in the lower right corner, and you can collapse it and expand it, and it kind of sits on top of the rest of the Gmail interface. It's the same concept here. So this is how you would enable it on a custom or non-Sales Hub application. So it's this checkbox here. Make sure that's enabled, and then we can click OK. Now, if you are using the Sales Hub, it's a little different. You, of course, can do it this way, but the intention is for you to go over to the bottom left corner, click this drop-down pop-up menu, and then go to App Settings here. You'll see a bunch of settings that a lot of these settings are also found elsewhere, like in the advanced settings, like we just talked about. I have been finding some settings though that can only be adjusted here. So just like team calls and Teams calls, I'm sorry, in particular, that's one that you can only find here, but I digress. Let's go back up to productivity tools, I believe it's under. And we'll wait for this to load. And just this first item here, enhanced email for timeline, make sure this is toggled on to yes, and then click save. So once you do change this in one spot, it's going to apply to all applications in your organization. So hopefully, regardless of if you have a custom application or if you use the Sales Hub, no matter which way you do this, once you do enable this, it should be enabled across the board for all of your applications. So if you use the Sales Hub and the Customer Service Hub, or the Sales Hub and a custom app, this should accomplish enhanced email for all of them. So to show you what this looks like in action, we will go to any of these. And again, this is all just sample data. We're going to go down to the timeline here. This is the timeline. It's labeled with the word timeline. It's where the activities and emails and stuff all get kind of wrapped up into one, well, timeline. So I'm going to click on this plus button and then select the email option here, just so you can see what it looks like to compose a new email with this enhanced email option on. So this is what it looks like. If it's the first time you're using this, it might not open to the enhanced email form. It might open to, say, the regular email form. It looks the same, but I know that the enhanced email form is meant to be used with the enhanced email feature. So I would just recommend changing it to the enhanced email form just to make things try to go as smoothly as possible. And this is kind of tailor-made for this feature. So, and everything fits really nicely in it. So I would recommend using that. But yeah, you can just compose your email like normal. It's got an enhanced, I don't know what you call this, little feature bar here for formatting, and then just send it off like a regular email. So that is how that works. And if you are just trying to save it as a draft or whatever, you can collapse it. You can expand it with this. You can pop it out to a new window here. Oh, not a new window. You can just maximize it there. Okay. Yeah. So pretty cool. Definitely an improvement in my opinion. So we'll minimize that. And just for kicks, I'm curious if it will stay there if we navigate away from the page. Okay, it does not. So I'm going to go back into it just for fun to see. Oh, I already forget who we just went into. I don't think it'll be there, but okay. Yeah, so that is the enhanced email feature. So moving on to our next little tip regarding inactivity timeout. So we're going to totally shift gears and scoot back to the back area. No matter where you are, you can click this gear icon and click advanced settings. We'll go back there. I already have this tab open, so I'm just going to click in here. And again, we're going to pull this down, go to administration again, which I think is right here. And then we're going to click the system settings option again. This is exactly where we just went to enable enhanced email. But this time we're going to stay in the general tab and we are going to scroll down a bunch to the very bottom and you should see set activity timeout and the options for that. So almost 100% of our clients have this set to no right now, I will just say, at least the ones that I have worked with. But if you have sensitive data, if your employees are working in coffee shops, etc., in this work from anywhere era, this is something to consider using. Personally, I can't stand it when bank accounts kick me out after what feels like 2 minutes of inactivity, but I understand the purpose. So if you do want to enable this, again, mostly for privacy and security reasons, you would just click yes here and then give the time in minutes before you want the actual timeout where they have to log back in, or I should say, and an option to show an inactivity warning. So you've been inactive for 10 minutes, you will be logged out in the next 5 minutes or something. So this is where you can set each of those. Again, the warning and the actual timeout, which is when you get forced logged out by the system. So that's it. I'm gonna leave this off for this for our little demo environment here, but yeah, that is how you enable the inactivity logout or timeout. Okay, so finally, we're gonna head over to Teams. Just gonna expand this here. And I'm gonna click on, well, before we get into this. So again, the tip here for Teams is when you meet on demand, I'm gonna try to go back in my calendar. I've had a bunch of meetings this month, but they've been largely on demand meetings. So some of these pop up here, the scheduled meetings like normal, but in my experience, I can't get the on-demand meetings to pop up on my calendar. I just don't think that's how they work. So, but sometimes I need to go back and reference notes or chats or recordings, etc. So I've got some meetings in this chat area. This is where I go to edit these things. Or not edit, sorry, to find these things. So when you're in your chat, again, I don't use this as a normal employee would. I'm a consultant, so I don't have any actual chats with people, but I do have lots of meetings in here. And I wanted to point out that you can filter. So let's pretend that you've got hundreds of conversations in here, hundreds of meetings. It's just a lot of stuff in here. You can click on chat and then click on this ... here and go to meetings. This is going to filter out everything except the meeting items in this list. From here, you can filter out further and start typing in the name of what you think the meeting might be. Of course, it's always tricksy when there are no title meetings or just generic meetings like that. So again, this is not the most perfect solution to this, but it works. And if you're trying to desperately find a file or a chat or a note or something from a previous meeting, this will get you there. So once you do find the meeting you're looking for, you can just click on it and it'll open up basically the entire meeting page, the chat, the files, the attendance, meeting notes, whiteboard, breakout rooms, recordings can be available here. So yeah. This is a pretty simple tip, but it is really useful. And again, maybe there's a better way to do this, but this is the easiest way that I have found to reference things from old meetings, chats, files, notes, etc. All right. And just a note, you can use this to try to help find other stuff too. I really don't get why they haven't added a hidden filter here, because you can even hide meetings, but I haven't figured out how to find them again. They never really included a feature for that. So if you do happen to mute anything, there's an option for that. Unread, chats, meetings, so just kind of the different categories of items in this list. I think it's a little misleading to call it all chat, but I suppose it's referencing the meeting chat, so there you go. But yeah, that's how you would go back and reference something from an older meeting that you can't easily find on your calendar. All right, so just to summarize what we talked about today, we discussed in Dynamics 365 enabling enhanced email, which is where you have this nice little pop-up when you go to compose an email from the timeline, rather than opening up a whole new page for it and kind of losing your spot. This also allows you to reference items in the record behind the email draft. You can collapse it, expand it. It does not stick around if you navigate to a different page though, so just be warned about that. The next thing we discussed was enabling activity timeout. So if you are, or I should say inactivity timeout. So if you're inactive for X amount of minutes, the system will log you out. You can also enable a warning after X minutes of inactivity, and just to alert the user that they will be logged out after X additional minutes. And then we talked about referencing or finding old information from meetings, especially meetings that aren't necessarily easily found in your calendar in Microsoft Teams. So thank you so much for joining. We will be back next month with some more tips for Dynamics 365 and Microsoft 365. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you guys next time.